Welcome. This is Business Breakfast coming to you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Well, I'm Frank Omalapen. Of course, this is a new business week, and there are some of things to expect today, talking about the business week, and then, of course, the economic outlook for this week. This week, oil prices are expected to stay strong after OPEC Plus agree to stick to moderate rises of 400,000 barrels per day in its oil output last week when they met. A look at metal market now. The gold price is expected to decline in the week after Federal Reserve announced a delay in possible rate hike until March. However, in the agri-commodity segment of the market, cocoa prices are expected to also appreciate. Well, cocoa prices are expected to appreciate as well. Looking at the agri-commodity now, cocoa prices are expected to appreciate in the week as demand will continue to outpace supply in the global market. Well, meanwhile, sugar prices are expected to depreciate in the week as supply pressure lessens. Operators in the market will have to take note of this information as well. But in the same respect, corn prices are expected to appreciate as demand for grains are beginning to outpace supply. Analysts, however, expect rate to hover around current levels, barring any significant outflows from the Apex Bank. Well, let's move to currency market now. In terms of outlook, the Naira started last week on a bullish tone against the US dollar. However, it closed bearish for the week. On a week-on-week basis, the Naira closed around 416 Naira, 33 kobo to a US dollar, depreciating by about 0.08% last week. At the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Fixing as well, talking about the NAFEX window, it also depreciated by 0.06%. Well, in terms of the overnight policy rate, between January 28 and February 4, we've seen a bit of change there, about 12% for the overnight policy rate, and then between January 28 and February 4th last week, it's done about 12%. So currently, it's doing about 13% if you look at that in terms of the money market rate there. But so these are some of the things to expect for the day. So in terms of Naira started the week on a bullish note, like I told you earlier, but a whole lot is are to be expected this week. If you look at the economic calendar this week, we expect that the federal government will release for the Kano dualization road. They will be releasing about 115 billion naira. That's a massive a figure that will go into construction sector there. So a whole lot of operators are expecting that money to go down there. And also you look at the inflation figure will be coming next week. We expect that the inflation figure will be out, but analysts are positioned and investors are positioned watching keenly what the inflation figure will be like in the month of January. Remember last week the institution like World Bank, IMF are also talking tough and also talking down on Nigeria, how Nigeria has been unable to manage the inflation shock, and that has impacted heavily on the economy. And so this is a whole lot to expect this week. And we also expect our inflation figure to be out next week. So Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, well, is expected to release that next week. Analysts will be expecting that as well to take decision alongside their investors as well. But here's what's coming up on the program today. Nigeria's inflation rate may worsen as World Bank blames Nigeria government over high inflation rate and the state of economy. The Washington-based bank said this in the latest edition of its Nigeria Development Update Report 2021. The bank further said double-digit inflation rates are depressing economic activity and exacerbating poverty as the country's continuous rising food prices are eroding household purchasing power. Big one there. to look out for on the show today. And also coming up on the program, the Nigerian oil shale index rises by 2.33% last week as index gained over 579 billion naira, closing the week in positive territory. So we look at the current trend as more companies continue to release their corporate earnings ahead inflation figure next week. So we have this and many more coming up on the show today. This is Business Breakfast. First, let's take a look at some top stories making the rounds now. Thousands of telecommunications subscribers nationwide seeking to retrieve their lost subscriber identity module cards or acquire new lines temporarily have been left stranded following a technical glitch at the National Identity Management Commission portal that has grounded SIM-related services. The affected NIMC portal enables telecom firms, the Nigerian Immigration Service, banks, and other organizations to verify the national identity number of their customers before attending to them, in line with the federal government's directive. Following the directive by the Nigerian Communications Commission for the inclusion of NIN in the requirement for all new and existing SIM cards, telecom firms are required to synchronize their SIM registration portals with the NIMC portal in order to verify the details of their subscribers. However, the downtime experienced over the past 5 days by the NIMC portal has made it almost impossible for telecom firms to sell new SIM cards or retrieve lost lines. Away from there now, the external reserves have fallen below the $40 billion mark to the lowest point in over 3 months. Figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria have revealed. The reserves dropped to $39.82 billion on February 2nd from $40.5 billion as of December 30th, 2021. The country's external reserve had jumped from $39.8 billion on October 15 last year to a high of $41.8 billion on October 29 on the back of Euro bond inflow and International Monetary Fund special drawing right. The country's external reserves rose by $5.12 billion last year from $35.3 billion at the end of 2020, according to CBN data. At the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting this year, the Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said members noted that the continued improvement in the external reserves despite ongoing foreign exchange market pressures. Reserves stood at $40.2 billion as of December 21. But maybe the Central Bank will have to do something ahead of the Monetary Policy Committee, that is to head a match. Let's leave it there. Another development now. The Managing Director, Chief Executive, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, Bello Hassan, has said the corporation will continue to build capacity and procurement processes. Hassan spoke at a 2-day capacity building workshop for management staff of the corporation in Lagos on Saturday. He said they will further engage the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, in a deeper conversation on the NDIC challenges in the procurement processes. Hassan said the corporation had maintained a cordial and progressive engagement with BPP over the years in different capacities, which had empowered the NDIC to discharge its mandate more efficiently and effectively to satisfy its stakeholders' expectations. And now the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is adopting 3 strategies to achieve a carbon-neutral economy and reduce global warming as well as other effects of climate change in Nigeria. The Group Managing Director in NPC, Melikiari, said the oil firm will adopt low-carbon technology across its operations, deepen natural gas utilization to reduce energy poverty and invest in clean energy. Kiari disclosed this in his contribution in the 2022 Global Agenda of the Atlantic Council, which was entitled Perspective on Energy Transition. The Atlantic Council is a non-partisan organization that galvanizes the United States global leadership and engagement in partnership with allies and partners. Well, and that's it for now with the top business stories. Coming up in a moment after this break, we take a look at Nigeria's inflation rate as World Bank blames Nigeria government over high inflation and the state of economy ahead of inflation figure to be released next week. That's a talking point when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. Well, glad to have you join us now. Let's delve into our conversation right away. The World Bank has stated that the federal government of Nigeria did not take any concerted action towards curbing inflation in 2021, despite the shock pushing an estimated 8 million Nigerians below the poverty line. The Washington-based bank said this in the latest edition of its Nigeria Development Update Report 2021. It said double-digit inflation rates are depressing economic activity. And also, recall the central bank had recently projected that the country's inflation rate would drop to single-digit in 2022 with the full implementation of its recent policies designed to boost different sectors of the economy. Right, so let's take a closer look at Nigeria's inflationary figure and analyzing the World Bank's recent position on the Nigeria state of economy. So let's bring in our guest now, Mr. Segun Elemo is the ED Paradigm Leadership Supportive Initiative. He joins us via the telephone now to make sense of this development. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Elemo. We appreciate your time, kindly.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, with this World Bank statement or position on Nigeria's state of economy, what is your take on that? They are blaming the Nigerian government for the rise in inflation figure. The price of food has gone up as well, talking about food inflation has gone up. And then they also talk about the state of economy in terms of poverty, the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I would agree with the World Bank because whatever is happening with, in the local economy, it's as a result of implementation of economic policies. And the institution or the authority responsible for implementing, policies, relating to what the subject we're discussing is the Nigerian government. So ultimately, the buck stops on the table of the Nigerian government, and the government has to be responsible for whatever is happening to the economy.
Now, the World Bank warned that without any decisive action, the average inflation rate would not reach the single-digit target of the central bank by the end of 2022. If you recall, the central bank set a single-digit inflation target for year 2022. So how feasible is this?
Well, I assume that let's take from where the central bank started in 2022. The first MPC meeting, for instance, held last month, and the bank maintained all parameters. So it neither increased interest rate nor reduced interest rate. So it stayed in the middle, just as it stayed throughout the course of 2021. I would assume that the bank is looking. The Apex Bank now is observing the both local economic climate as well as international activities regarding economic issues. But the good side, or let me not say the good side, the upside, to the assumption of the Apex Bank is that the price of crude, has increased a little bit owing to the Russia and Ukraine issue that is currently happening. So if that continues, perhaps maybe the pressure on the forex market would likely reduce. As such, the continued weakening of the naira may ease out gradually. If that happens, it means that the disposable income of the average citizens will gain, some appreciable value, and that means that inflation would have, reduced a little bit in the market. So there are a few things that the bank is trying to leverage on, and then perhaps the indication that the CBN governor gave, that we're likely to hit the harvest season for food, and if that happens and we're able to harvest more and push more products from the farm to the market with little or no middlemen at all in the process. It means that the price of food in the market will, somewhat, reduce, which means that people can buy more with their current, income. But that also in itself is dependent on a number of factors. For instance, the security situation of the country. So even when we're expecting the farm produce increases, it's still subject to some extraordinary factors like insecurity and like middlemen that continues to hijack the product from the farm before it gets to the market. So there are a few things, like I said, the bank is trying to leverage on, but all of those factors are subjective. And until we get to the reality of it, we may not be able to say exactly what our experiences will be. But I mean, give it to the CBN, the rice pyramid was launched recently, and we're hoping that all those bags in the pyramid will find their way into the market, thereby easing the pressure on the consumer.
We'll get back to some of the issues raised by the World Bank in a jiffy, but let's talk more now that you've talked about the issue of food prices that may likely go up given the harvest season ahead of us. But how easy, because a supply chain is a challenge in this part of the world, the movement of food between the producers in the farm and, of course, the final consumer is a challenge. How do we bridge this gap, and how easy do you think this will be, moving these goods to the hinterland or the urban settlement and the cities as well?
Well, I think it's a challenge. It's always been a challenge. I mean, I was listening to an analyst recently who was trying to bring to light the waste in our food production chain. That even before the food gets out from the farm to the market, we've almost lost a significant percentage of the food produce, and that in itself is affecting the economy in so many ways. For instance, it will affect the GDP. It will affect disposable income of an average citizen. It will push inflation upwards. CPI index will increase. So if we don't put the necessary logistics in place, which we are trying to do by increasing transportation infrastructure in the country, we also need to improve our storage facilities for food. And the thing is that we need to support farmers. For instance, there must be some kind of program or policy of government that buys the product from the farmer as they produce. If they don't have, for instance, logistics to store, then there must be some kind of arrangement that buys the products, the produce from them directly and store, in such structure that allows us for mass storage, of food produce. That in itself will limit the waste that we're experiencing currently, with regards to, inefficient storage system for food produce. So if we're able to do that, and then we put the right logistics in place in terms of transportation, and the transportation logistics, for instance, is dependent on a few other things. It's not just to put the rail system in place. Even the logistics from moving the food produce from the farm to the rail station itself is another thing entirely. So you will be looking at the road infrastructure as well, not just the rail infrastructure. So all of these things tied together. I think that the most important thing is that we become more responsible with the use of public funds to scale some of these infrastructure needs that we require. If we're able to do that, all of these things will work together in themselves and then give us the desired outcome that we want. If we want inflation, food inflation, for instance, to go down, like I've highlighted, there are a few things that need to be in place. We need to look at transportation logistics, we need at storage facilities. We need to look at the issue about middlemen, like the governor, the CBN, spoke about. We need to look at a lot of things. There are many of those issues that we have currently that are self-inflicted. If we're able to limit these issues that I've highlighted, you would realize that things will improve in the market itself.
Okay. I want us to wrap it up with these. We saw food inflation rising to an all-time high last May, going by 22% before dropping to 17.37% in December. Inflation figure is scheduled to be released by next week, and that's when we expect that the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics will release that latest figure. What are your expectations as we wrap up now?
It's likely to increase, but possibly towards the end towards the middle of the year and towards the end of the year, we might likely, see a decline. But I don't think we're going to see that decline as early as the next, figures are published. Those decline that we expect or we're looking out for, it's also dependent on a number of factors. For instance, you would say that in fact, it should have even been the increase would have been unimaginable if, for instance, the subsidy on petrol was removed as contemplated by the federal government. So the fact that the federal government has pushed that decision to sometime in the future now, which in any case is inevitable, will sort of stabilize the system, the economy a little bit, right, and not push inflation upwards as much as it would have been if that policy had been implemented as contemplated. But the thing is, the issue about subsidy removal, I know that is another story entirely. Right. That we can put to test of discussion at another time. But for what we're expecting from NBS, I don't see a decline as quickly as the next figures are published. Possibly towards the middle of the year and towards the latter part of the year, if the right attitude on the part of policymakers, manifest and sort of cushion the effect of what we're experiencing currently.
A good place to leave it there. Thank you so much, Mr. Segun Elemo, the Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative. We appreciate you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Still to come on Business Breakfast. After the break, we'll take a look at current sentiment in the Nigerian equities market as the Nigerian Exchange All-Share Index closed the week on a positive note with a gain of over 500 billion naira. Chief Research Officer Investor Consulting Limited, Ambrose Amodian, joins us to review the market and what to expect this week after this break. This is Business Breakfast. So it's time to turn attention to looking at the equities market now. And as we do a review of how the market ended last week and, of course, what to expect this week. The week started last week on a positive note while the market sentiment remained mixed with occasional bargain hunting. The NGX All-Share Index closed the week on a positive note with a rise of 2.33%. The same vein, the Nigerian exchange gained about 579.21 billion naira. However, year-to-date return was positive at 10.68%, while the market capitalization settled at 25.47 trillion naira. If you look at the sector, in terms of sector analysis and movement now, across all sectors tracked by Business Breakfast. At the close of trading on Friday, NGX growth was the highest gainer for the week with 13.29%, while insurance sector recorded the highest decline with 1.93%. Look at the oil and gas and premium closing the week with 7.69% and 4.68% respectively. But however, market breadth for the week closed negative with 18 gainers, led by Square and Living Trust as against 24 losers led by Presco and NEM Insurance. So let's bring in Mr. Ambrose Amodian, Chief Research Officer, Investitor Consulting Limited. He joins us via the telephone now to look at the market performance last week and what to expect this week. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Amodian. We appreciate your time as always.
Thanks for having me.
Give us your perspective, what you think happened last week. All-time high of 25.47 trillion naira for the market capitalization. And you're seeing the index rising above 46,000. I mean, hitting over 47,000 last week. But give us what you think is dominating and the sentiment dominating the market at the moment.
Yeah, I would say for successive 6 weeks, the market has been on a bullish run. And this as a result of factors that have been behind the market. One, it's investors kind of what we call cherry picking of stuff that has a high dividend yield. One, also looking at the oil price, it's above like $2 as yesterday. Then at the same time, look at the earnings that also came from the other companies on the exchange. These earnings beat market expectation. On that note, the continual personal reshuffling, people moving from one stock to the other. And that is why I see that even within the weeks, I see that the weeks slow trend, there is a performance, because within the week of that review, market was down 2 times and up 3 times. That means that this market is really looking for information. And investors that are also in other investment windows are also gradually coming back to the equity space to position for dividend, knowing that it's a policy that can release by these companies deep expectation. That means the possibility of many companies to grow their payout for the year ended 2021 is high. And that is the attraction in the market now. And also don't forget that the global trend also is also what is also supporting our market. It was just last year that most of the global stocks were up a little, but before now they are all like in a decline because of inflation over the mature market. But here, our inflation just tick up just a little in December. And also the FTC retaining their rate, these are the factors that are still driving the market now. And don't forget that there's a little change in solution of the results on the exchange. Because now, companies have the choice to choose whether to bring the results, whether at the end of the last quarter of the year, which is December 31st, to leave them within first quarter and first month of the year, which is January. Then, after the putting that to leave them for the third month within the CTV, which they will end on the 31st of March this year. That means that we're expecting more companies that will come with corporate action in this month of February. That's why this week, the end of the month, the share market was delayed. But I just said that doing anything like this, there's more volatility, no more direction. So why did I say so? Because as market results, market will react to those results. Market will always have sell off position or buy to position. The results come that is not positive, the investors will sell down. For example, when internal oil, what we call the Capital released their results, and even Capri, and there was a decline in their results. You see, market will treated them that way. Also, if companies are having results now as of this week, declaring their corporate actions, dividend their previous, if they are not enough to support the price, market will also react. That's why I said it's not of volatility in any single direction. That means as an investor, you need to position in those stocks before the results start hitting the market. And we have seen that a lot of them that use their own affiliate account, because they are inside what to expect from those that are yet to see their results. Who to expect in this month of February, already the second week of February, we expect that between now and end of the month of first of March, you see more of those big names and those high cap stocks will release the results. And that will change the face of the market. And also, market are not looking at another 47 just or call it successful line. Because of all these high cap stocks, price value, stock like Stepla, stock like Ether, and also MTN, these are the ones that push the market. And they say their fundamentals and their numbers are still strong to support their price. For me, as far as there is opportunity for them to go up, the market will still lose their direction. But don't be buying the as an investor or trader that market is on there. There's going to be correction or pullbacks or profit taking. And that is, you need to be send your profit target your time. What you need is just take your profit. Don't be buying the way with direction. Support market alone. This is time to invest with knowledge. But don't just follow bandwagon. Once you achieve it, come out from it, then you now move to another store. Then that's invest because I will tell you the market is strong. That's the only strength. Even the last candle that closed the week was this strong candle as a positive candle, a bullish candle for that matter.
The The oil sector was the most patronized sector with about 7.69% last week. Are we likely to see that trend? Because in recent time, we've seen Total Energies releasing its earnings into the market.
Well, actually, this one you're very right. That's the numbers that are coming from that sector, the big market expectations, especially what that came from the total I just mentioned, what that came from Stepler, what that came from Connoye, these are the ones that even supported the sector index. Don't forget that also during the week, we saw that Owado also was on the rise, was on the uptrend because of what they just released and notification to the market that yes, they are working on their report that will use between now and end of April, between the 2009 and the 2009 to 2020. And on that note, market reacted to that information. I think that there is positive sentiment for that sector. That's why I say that sectorial fundamental news has a way of being on individual stock. Because your sectorial, you can see that most of the sector, most of the stock in that sector has an uptrend last week just because of positive information of positive results. And at the same time, this is that for one. That's that for the week, they are less in terms of sectorial performance, 7.69. It's a good move for the market. And also, I think that for stock like Stepler, like ETI, and like what these are one same companies on the other exchange. And because of the information in the foreign exchange in Nigeria, most of the investors also can actually buy the stock here and go and sell it outside of the shop Nigeria. That will be demand for that kind of stocks. That's why we see also there's a trend in that stock. And for Stepler, being in oil sector, we have to go price is above $92. It's a poor, that means we're seeing better numbers even in the first quarter of this year. But that investors are also designing, also positioning ahead of Stepler's final dividend for 2021 and also for first quarter as well. Ahead of it, that's happening there.
Let me quickly come in. Yeah. How would you assess the performances of these oil and gas companies or stocks who are listed? You talk about Seplat, you talk about Oando, you also talk about corn oil as well, and then of course the recent one we saw in the market last week was Total Energy. So how are investors responding to some of the results we are seeing from these companies?
Because the positive response, you saw an upgrade in their performance in the price of these stocks. Because when the company release their number, if there's negative performance, you see it sell down. But now people are buying more because they are seeing a better number from this sector. And that's why they are positioned ahead of their final corporate action that will come or the regulation that will come this month or before the end of that is March. This is why you see investors taking advantage of it. And don't forget that as far as the oil price also continues to rally, and we see that there's some political tension in some climate of the war, and that will also fuel the oil price. And oil price of the war, talk like Stepler, talk like Owando, so right, because Owando has not just become transparent or going to trust them. That's why the price is just that price. Looking at the kind of capacity Owando has, that stock should have been even above 10 naira, but because the management of the company is not leading to the expectation of the investor, but this is the right information they need to guide the investment. So that's why the stock is still oscillating. But I believe that the regulators are not sleeping. They should know what to do so that the investors that put their money in Owando should have information to guide their work, their decision. That is that people are paying on the sector at the higher prices because they know that this company is transparent and they are seeing the number to guide the decision. Because taking investment is a thing to future, and these numbers data to take a decision. They don't just use only just the name of the company or the management. No, this data for the company, because of earnings, to make the assessment, to make the also take analysis, to take money for if you are just standing on one leg, you can for too long because there's no fundamental because of earnings coming from the one.
Okay, let's try to. Just a moment because of our time. Let's wrap up with these. How should investors position for this week? We saw very positive earnings last week, talking about the movement. But then you have also said it's a volatile market. So this week is a new week now. How should investors position?
Just like I said, we expect this week to be a mixed market the way we saw what happened in the previous week. But what we guide investors is that investors have seen positive accounts of millions of the companies listed on the exchange. And those that have reached their performance for 2020, can insight that they might likely go well their payout. That is why they say their dividend is what they are tracking them. That dividend should be a guide for investors to know if they are income investor. For dealers like you, what you do, you better position ahead of time. Not because you want to buy a price stock today, but you better like in the next 1 week saw what happened in Ghana, we saw what happened in Nigeria, how they grow their dividend with almost 40%. So this tells you that we expect more companies to grow their dividend to kind of pay out in this month of February,
Okay.
the end of March. For me, investors should not panic, but invest wisely in those stocks that have fundamental and when speculating.
Let's leave it there. Thank you, Ambrose Amodian, Chief Research Officer, Investor Consulting Limited. We appreciate your time as always.
Sir, thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you.
You're still watching Business Breakfast coming to you live from our studio. We'll take a moment now. When we come back, we'll look at the commodities market and what's trending. We'll be back in a moment. This is Business Breakfast. Glad to have you back now. Let's look at the commodities market and look at the oil market first, specifically Saudi Arabia raised oil prices for customers in Asia, the US and Europe after crude surged to almost about $95 a barrel. State firm Saudi Aramco increased oil grades for its main markets of Asia in March. The company raised its key Arab light oil for the region by 60 cents from February to $2.80 per barrel above the benchmark it uses. Other Asian grades jumped by between 40 and 70 cents a barrel. The U.S. prices were increased by 30 cents. Meanwhile, Brent crude has climbed around 20% in 2022 to more than $93 a barrel. Its rise has come as global consumption remains strong despite the spread of Omicron variant of the virus. In addition, oil stockpiles have plummeted in the past year and many major producers are struggling to pump more. And now Aramco's decision came after days after OPEC Plus opted to increase its daily crude production by 400,000 barrels a day next month in line with traders' expectations. And now let's look at the goods market now. Gold prices rose on Monday as growing worries over broadening price pressures lifted the metals appeal as an inflation hedge and helped cushion pressure from higher U.S. Treasury yields after a surprisingly upbeat jobs report. Gold futures and multi-commodity exchange edged higher by 0.15% or about 73 rupees to 47,997 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures were trading higher by 1.12% or about 683 rupees at 61,532 rupees per kilogram. Gold is considered a hedge against inflation and geopolitical risk, yet rate highs would raise the opportunity cost of holding non-yielding bullion. Well, and of course, this is where we call it a wrap on today's program. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. We'll see you again.
A maxi dress is a floor or ankle-length informal dress. Maxi dresses are form-fitting at the top and loose-flowing at the bottom, cut to flow over the body. They are usually made out of cotton or polyester and come in a variety of necklines, colors and patterns. We love maxi dresses. They've been everywhere for the past few years and for good reason. The maxi dress first became popular during the 1960s when it was designed by high-end fashion designer Oscar de la Renta. The dress continued to remain popular through the 70s until it went into a bit of a recession during the 80s. During this period, play suits became more popular and these were ultimately replaced by mini skirts during the 90s. It wasn't until recently that the maxi dress began to make a comeback. Now they are just as popular as they were in the 60s and 70s, but with a few changes. For example, the hemline is a little longer in modern-day maxi dresses compared to the ones from 50 years ago. We can't help gushing about this wardrobe staple. So here are top favorite things about maxi dresses. A maxi dress means you don't have to worry about your shirt coming untucked, a button gape in your blouse, or anything riding up when you sit down. It's literally got you covered. A maxi dress is perfect for ensuring that more conservative events like church, tea with the in-laws, or that fancy baby shower are worry-free. They are low maintenance. Who has time for dry cleaning? You can throw most maxi dresses in the washing machine and be just fine. Although some need to line dry. Many also resist wrinkling, so you can roll up one into your tight little burrito and tuck it into your bag for your next vac. No wardrobe malfunctions. A maxi dress means you don't have to worry about your skirts coming untucked, a button gap in your blouse, or anything riding up when you sit down. It's literally got you covered. A maxi dress is perfect for ensuring that more conservative events such as church, tea with the in-laws, or fancy baby showers are worry-free. They're classic. As much as we love a good trend, maxi dresses date back to the 70s and aren't going out of style anytime soon. They have major staying power due to the wide variety of patterns, styles, colors, and fabrics available. A solid color maxi in a classic shape will see you through changing fads. All you have to do is update an accessory or two. Now, because maxis come in so many different styles, you'd want to give some consideration to where you're planning to wear them to. For example, if you're planning on wearing your maxi at night, you may want a more formal maxi dress, such as one with sleeves or one that is made of a luxe fabric. For everyday daytime wear, go with a casual and versatile maxi dress. To complete the casual look, try pairing your dress with a set of flat sandals and an everyday handbag. Finally, consider whether you'll be wearing heels with the dress. Adding heels will raise you off the ground a bit, so you'll want to consider the length of the dress and make sure it still looks okay before heading out. All of the nude and taupe and natural tone sandals and wedges are great because they go with so many things, and those wedges can work their ways into jeans as well.
My friend, if you touch me, I will slap you.
Okay, now slap me.
Who? Making noise in the government house? Who are they? They want to see me? Can't somebody handle their case? It's me they don't want to see. Okay, let them come.
Follow, like mother, like daughter.
I beg you. This one go concern me now. Now this matter will carry come here. I beg, I don't want.
I want to talk. We won't take this.
Excuse me. Yes? What is all this for?
We came to report your driver that impregnated my daughter.
No, Daddy, no.
I don't understand.
Why are you doing like last man?
Excuse me.
You go
Excuse, will you shut up? You are in the governor's office and you have to be very peaceful. So what is the problem?
Sir, we came to report your driver that impregnated my daughter.
Daddy, no.
Wait. My driver impregnated her?
No.
Me?
You not feel.
I beg your pardon.
Oh,
Sir.
Then you're going.
Sir, with the way situation are now, we pardon your baby. Because the thing there, this girl said your driver, but the way she's stretching her, it's like you.
It's like me?
Yes.
Excuse me, have you met me before? Oh my God. Sir, what is this?
She's trying to show you what you use. Sir, we can
Wait, she said where and when?
Ahead, that's right now. That's right. Ahead.
Sir,
Ah.
you two are remembering.
Ahead.
Small.
Ah, that's so down.
She's the one. See, what you drop into a fertile soil has germinated. It has grown.
The secretary here first lady.
He has accepted us. Our in-law. Near your husband.
Wait, are you saying that I am the one responsible for this pregnancy?
My governor, let me tell you something. On a coming, he's written capital letter G. Me, governor. You are not good. That's it. No, it's your property.
Oh shit.
Don't be a rubbish that we have been doing up the house.
Leave her alone, she took after me. After she went.
Please, madam, you see, let's just come to an agreement.
Negotiation.
You see,
They are together.
I saw you with another man that
Like
night.
that, no, this girl cannot even shit in my head.
No.
Let alone cheat on you. I can't shit. This girl cannot cheat on.
So you decided to make me the father of the baby, Abi?
No.
Me and you decided. When? Because I was drunk that night. I was celebrating the victory of our party.
We voted for you.
Anyway,
We voted for you.
Yes, sir.
if she gives birth to a girl, no problem. You know, in this state, we don't allow abortion.
I know.
If she gives birth to a girl, 50 million.
My governor.
Cool down.
Cool down, please. Don't touch me, I'm cooling down.
If she gives birth to, what did I say before? Boy, I'll give you another 30 million. If she gives birth to a girl.
My poor better head.
And again, sit down.
Governor.
Sit down.
Governor, I'm okay.
I say sit down.
Governor, I'm okay.
I say sit down.
Governor, I'm okay.
Sit down.
Tell them not
If she gives birth to twins, I'll give each of you 50 million. What is all this?
Governor, you have spoiled our life. I have not counted 50,000 before. I don't spend only 50 million.
Let's sit down.
30 million.
Sit down.
Daddy, stop it. You're embarrassing me.
You are embarrassing me.
Embarrassing us. You're embarrassing me and my baby.
Listen. If after giving birth to the twins, I'll fly to Vietnam.
Daddy, we've gone to London before.
Governor, our life has spoiled. Sorry, our life has better.
And if she loses the pregnancy,
You go put her. Excellency, if my pikin off, I think you are going
If you touch her, I kill. Don't want to. We have to rent me back to carry you. With friends.
My leg is...